Today, I'm going to be surviving 100 days in the brand new 1.21 update in Minecraft Hardcore. Many features have been added since I previously played this update, so today I will be exploring everything that has been added. Anyways, enjoy the video. Day 1, I began by spawning on top of a tree in a jungle biome. I promptly jumped down and cut down a tree for some wood so I could get myself a wooden pickaxe. I then found a ravine in the ground, so I jumped inside to collect some stone, which I used to get a stone pickaxe and axe. And now using this stone axe, I went around collecting some food, starting with sheep, then some fish, melon, more sheep, even some chicken. I then crafted up a furnace and smelted all the food so I could prepare for the caves. I couldn't smelt all the food just yet, so I had to quickly jump down to collect some more coal so I could smelt the rest of my food. It started turning nighttime, but I ignored that and collected some iron, some more coal, and then smelted all that iron up so I could craft up a bucket, collect some water, and then finally I could return back to my crafting table to craft up a bed and sleep the night away. I started day 2 by collecting all my stuff, and then I was attacked by a burning skeleton. I continued further into the caves where I got low on health trying to fight off another skeleton. I started collecting some more iron whilst feeling right at home with the spider on the ceiling of the cave. And then I went around collecting more iron in these caves. I wanted to essentially speedrun the early game of Minecraft since I wanted to get an elytra as fast as possible in order to explore everything added in this update. Soon, I stopped collecting more iron so I could use my furnace to begin smelting up everything that I had already collected. And now that was all complete, I picked everything up once again and left the cave to collect some more wood. And before I went back into the caves, I wanted to go and loot the ruined portal that I found off in the distance. Turns out it was pretty bad. Besides that, I crafted up an iron pickaxe, axe, sword, a shield, as well as an iron chest plate. Anyways, now I could return back into the caves and start exploring around, collecting more materials. There were many mobs that I had to be careful of. However, besides that, I just collected more iron, and whilst running around looking for even more loot, I was attacked by multiple skeletons, and I was set down to 1 heart of health. Super close to death, I ran away and blocked myself off, barely surviving. I spent the rest of day 2 collecting materials such as lapis, more iron, even gold. I watched a crazy intense battle between 2 skeletons, and then I decided it was time for me to smelt up all the materials that I had just collected in order to complete my full iron armor set. Starting with leggings, the helmet, and then boots. And finally, it was time to leave the caves, now somewhat prepared for anything. Now that I had all the iron armor and tools, I now had one more objective, and that was to find a village. And whilst I'm running around, consider subscribing. Only 3% of my viewers are actually subscribed, and I'll be doing a face reveal at 1 million subscribers. Besides that, during my exploration, I also collected loads of food. I also found a very nice location that would have been great for a house. However, because I was looking for a village, I would have to put this area behind me and continue my journey. And doing this was a great idea because not too long later, I actually found one of the new dog types. I used some bones to tame one of the dogs, and now I had a friend to join me on my journey, going through the ocean and the land. Eventually, I found myself in a swamp and it started to turn nighttime. However, I wasn't going to sleep because I wanted to collect some slime balls because one of the new potions added in this update requires a slime block to brew. Whilst running around, I found one of the new skeleton variants. This skeleton was called the bogged skeleton or something, which gives you the poison effect when you're hit. Anyways, eventually I found some slimes, so I collected some slime balls, fed my dog, and then went to sleep. I started day 4 smelting up all the food that I gathered yesterday. I then trapped an enderman in a boat. However, unfortunately, I was unable to get the enderman to drop an ender pearl. I fed my dog some more rotten flesh, collected all my cooked food, and then continued my journey looking for a village. Right after continuing the exploration for a village, I found a shipwreck. Looting the chest got me a diamond, some lapis, iron, and emeralds. That was a pretty solid find. Anyways, I found myself back on the ocean water with my dog, looking for some more land. I found an ocean monument on my way, but ignored that. And eventually, land ahead. Yeah. Not too long later, after finding this land, I actually came across another dog type. That now makes our dog collection 2 of size or something like that. Yeah. By the end of this video, I want to get as close as possible to collecting every single dog type. Soon, the sun began to set, and off in the distance, I found a village. So I ran over to it and slept the night away. And in the morning, I let my dog sit down whilst I went on a rampage and took everything that this village had to offer. First, I crafted up a chest to clear out my inventory, and since I had some time, I chucked the spare raw iron and gold into some furnaces to get that all smelted up. Then I crafted up an iron hoe. Now I could run around in this village taking everything it had to offer. The first house that I looted had a chest with some potatoes in it, and now running around in the village, I found literally nothing else. I decided to let the iron golem live since I already had loads of iron. And then putting the iron hoe to use, I broke all the hay bales. I also stole a blast furnace, but that concludes the village robbery. Off in the distance, I saw a lava pool, so I ran towards it. I then attempted to do the speedrunner portal thing, which I kind of messed up. Oops. Anyways, I now had to collect some flint for a flint and steel. I then lit the portal and went inside. It was now time that I did a little exploration again, but this time it was going to be in the nether. I also needed some blocks, so I broke all the netherrack and started bridging using these blocks. I jumped over some lava, and then soon I came to the conclusion that I probably shouldn't be in here right now. So I decided to start returning back home. But first, I was going to use a couple of attempts at getting the return to sender advancement. Anyways, after that I finally returned back home. Now, I wanted to collect loads of wool. I'm not going to give away any hints on what I was going to be using this wool for. Actually, you know what? Maybe I will give a hint. I'm going to be setting up camp. I spent a good portion of day 6 going around to sheep, shearing them for wool, and eventually, once I thought that I had enough wool, I started to make a build. Yep, I was going to be building up a tent for now, so I could just set up a temporary home. Now, obviously, later in these 100 days, I will build a better house. I just wanted to have something to call home for now. I did end up running out of wool during this building process, so I had to go back out shearing more sheep for some more wool. However, after that, I finished placing all the blocks and used some fences as well to add some more decoration to this tent. I mean, how else is it supposed to stay up without these support beams? I quickly made home by placing a chest and clearing out my inventory, and began day 7 by moving all the stuff that I had in the village over to my new campsite. I also collected some more wool so I could quickly extend out the tent a couple more blocks, and to further concrete this area into being mine, I set up a few farms. I started with a wheat and potato farm, I then moved on to sugarcane, and also planted a few of the cocoa beans that I collected on a previous day back at the jungle biome. Now, after this, I actually wanted to do another smaller build. I wanted to collect a bit of wood, and then I flattened an area out a little bit. I placed the logs down as if they were seats. I then returned to the nether, collected some netherrack, and built a small little campfire. Alright, that was a lot of stuff to process in a short amount of time. Long story short, we now had a decent campsite looking thing that would set us up for a little while. It was also on this night that I realized the flaws of my tent. Yep, an entire zombie apocalypse decided to come and attack me, but I quickly dealt with all that. I started day 8 by clearing out all the other mobs that survived the night. Today is the day that I got full diamond armor, or the beginning of getting it at least. I crafted up a new iron pickaxe since my current one was about to break, and then started searching for an entrance into a cave. I instantly found a giant cave entrance, but it led to absolutely nothing, so I left this place and continued my search. Eventually finding another massive hole in the ground. So I jumped down and started exploring these caves. This time, we were actually going to get somewhere. I fought off multiple skeletons, and not too long into my mining session, I found my first diamonds. Obviously, I had to fight for these diamonds though. Why would it be that easy? This diamond vein had 5 of them, which was a great beginning. And this cave was actually really good because after this, I found even more diamonds. In the first 10-ish minutes of this mining session, I had already collected 15 of them. Actually, hold that thought. It was now 17. Going around these caves were absolutely ridiculous, having to fight off like a billion mobs all to just get one single diamond from this vein. At least the cave had something good to offer though, because not too long later, I actually found one of those spawner thingos, which the first chest had a cat disc inside, as well as some gunpowder, but the second chest, however, had something amazing. A density 5 enchant book, which is one of the brand new enchants enchants added in the 1.21 Minecraft update. I ended up running around for a very long time without actually finding anything, ending this day off by finding literally one more diamond. These single diamond veins are absolutely awful, but I think you kind of get the point here. I just ran around in the caves looking for more diamond veins so I could eventually get enough diamonds for full diamond armor and tools. I eventually collected way more diamonds than I would actually need, so I stopped what I was doing to craft up a diamond pickaxe and then collect 14 obsidian from a lava pool that I randomly found. Obviously, I would be using this all to get a nether portal and enchant table. And day 11 was going to be one of the last days that I was really going to need for the majority of this mining session. You see, now all I really needed to do was collect a few other random materials. This time, I was going to be collecting some tough blocks. Obviously, since the new tough blocks were added in Minecraft, I was kind of obliged to do something with them. So I spent most of this day mining up 6 full stacks of tough blocks. Yep, and then when I got back up to the surface, it was raining. I found a ruined portal which had literally nothing that I would need, so I ended up ignoring it, and instead I found a village, but it wasn't the village I was looking for. Anyways, as the night was almost over, I found myself back at my actual village. I started the following day by clearing out my inventory, and then I went running looking for a cave with some copper. However, I quickly decided to return back home so I could craft up a diamond chestplate, helmet, leggings, boots, axe, sword, shovel, and I also crafted up an enchant table, which I used to enchant everything. Oh, fine. Now I can go ahead and collect all the copper. And if you're wondering why I'm actually looking for copper right now, it's because the brand new 1.21 Minecraft update has also brought some new copper blocks to build with. So I thought it was going to be a pretty fun idea to go around, collect a ton of copper so I could use it to build. I continued the copper collecting into day 13 as well, until I decided to return back up to the surface, and since it was nighttime, I could now kill some skeletons for bones. You see, I wasn't going to sleep this night away because I also wanted to collect as many bones as I could get my hands on. Considering soon, I also wanted to collect as many of the new dog types that were also added in this update. So I was going to need quite a lot of bones. Anyways, I ended the night with a few extra bones than I originally started with, and then left day 14 to be a chill day. I used this time to smelt up all the copper that I had mined up in the previous 2 days. Also, I guess something else happened on this day. A wandering trader decided to show up, and I'm not too sure if these trades were any good, so I just decided to leave them be. Well, most of them at least. I kind of needed a lead, and yeah, you get the point. I needed this lead because I saw in an SP737 video, you can now tow boats using leads in Minecraft. That was a pretty cool feature. It's like I have a trailer or something now. I started day 15 off by doing a little bit of farming since I noticed some of my crops had started to grow. It was also around this time that I wanted to start looking for the mobs and animals that were added in this update, mainly focusing on the new dog types. And since I had a very limited amount of time, I decided to do the /seed command and put the number into a seed map tool, which would show me exactly where each biome was located. Some of you may think this is cheating, and to all who think this, all I have to say to you is, oh well. I wrote down the coordinates to every single biome that one of the new dog types is spawn in to prepare for the following day, where I would set out on the water to run towards the coordinates of every biome that I just wrote down. However, I quickly changed my mind and returned back home because I kind of forgot one crucial item, the bones. Eventually, after running through large forests, I finally came across an old growth pine taiga biome, which is actually the biome where I'd be able to find the black dog. I ran around for quite a while until eventually I found a pack of black dogs surrounded by loads of free food as well. Thanks, don't mind if I do. I also have noticed people are saying this dog is the rarest, but as I continue my dog exploration journey further in this video, I quickly start to believe otherwise. On day 17, the epic dog and myself got in a boat and we went out exploring until I realized I was literally right next to a tiger biome just before, which is another biome where a different dog type spawns. So I quickly turned around and spent quite a surprisingly long time running around looking for another dog. This is kind of a repetitive pattern throughout this endless journey where I just do loads of running, but eventually I found the pale dog type, which is the original. So I tamed it, and then I made the decision to return back home, and now I could easily do this by putting the two dogs in a boat and using a lead to tow them along with me. Now returning back home, that puts our dog total to 4. We're making pretty good progress. Anyways, now that I had brought the other two dogs back home, it was time for me to go back out exploring. This time, I wanted to head over to the savanna biomes, since I could find multiple new mobs there. First, I could find the new armadillo, and I could also find the new spotted dog type, which is found in the savanna plateau. I spent quite a lot of this day sailing over the ocean, but eventually I found some land and continued my journey. However, this was promptly interrupted by me finding a random woodland mansion inside of a mountain. This was a very interesting find, but I would definitely be entering it because I could now get some totems of undying. Very useful to have. I spent day 19 going around inside this woodland mansion fighting off mobs. I also had a few very close calls to death. I also took a few things from the mansion, including bookshelves for books that I would take home later for my own bookshelves. I also got a second totem, barely surviving on half a heart, and I just ended up spending a long time running around in this mansion. The layout of it was pretty strange. I also let all the allays out because why the heck not? And whilst I was looting a chest, I got snuck up on by a vindicator, which unfortunately popped and wasted one of my totems. I only had one left now. Screw you, vindicator. I also stole an anvil, but that was honestly about it for this looting session. I mean, at least I came out of this with one totem. The entirety of day 20 was just spent continuing the whole running theme. I also took a little break so I could cook up some more food, since I was definitely slowly running out of all that. I also continued this into day 21, where eventually, by the time the moon started to rise, I finally found myself in a savanna biome. Now, all I needed to do was find the armadillo and dog. Simple, right? Right? Not too long into the day, I actually found an armadillo, which ticks off one of the mobs that I was actually looking for. And wait, hold on. What's with the music? Huh? Wait a minute. Are you telling me I went exploring for the next 5 whole days without finding a single dog, whilst exploring multiple wooded badland biomes, savanna plateau biomes, even snowy taiga biomes, and I didn't find a single new dog type? No way. Yeah, honestly, I don't know what to tell you all. I just ran around for such a long time in all these different biomes trying to find at least one of the dogs, but I could not find a single one of them. Literally nothing was spawning. There is absolutely no way the black dog is the rarest. Whoever commented that on my videos, you might be a bit crazy, unless I'm just super lucky in the wrong ways. So yeah, now I just had to return back home without any more dogs. Quite unfortunate. That was definitely a waste of time. Besides that, now that I had finally returned back home, I could actually go back to doing a few productive tasks. I started digging a hole into the ground and clearing out a room because I wanted to make a quick storage area, since the tent definitely wasn't going to be good enough to store all my chests, especially once we start getting way more loot later on in this world. I placed down my furnaces, crafting table, and then using all my wood, I crafted up a load of chests to place down in my new storage area. I also crafted up some more furnaces and placed those too. I quickly sorted all my loot into different chests depending on the type of loot, and also moved everything from the chests under my tent into this new storage area. Finally, ending the day by digging out another little area in the storage room for my enchant table. Since I now actually wanted to do another feature that was added in this update, I had to start preparing. I chopped down loads of trees for wood and then crafted up some bookshelves to allow for level 30 enchantments at my enchant table. I then spent the rest of day 29 collecting even more wood from trees, and you're just about to find out the exact reason for this. On the morning of day 30, I turned all my wood into sticks and then crafted up both a cartography table and a fletching table, both for villagers, obviously to give them new professions. I turned one of the villagers into a fletcher and then traded all the sticks that I had just crafted over to them so I could get some more emeralds. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Yeah, his name's Bob, if you didn't know. I also noticed on this day that my village now only had 2 villagers left, and I guess they were the chosen frozen ones. Well, kind of. I mean, they're just going to be trapped for the rest of their lives now since I didn't want them dying to any mobs. We can't lose these villagers now, otherwise I would have to transport new ones from over thousands of blocks away, and that doesn't sound like fun if you ask me. I traded more sticks for more emeralds, and then I went back to the farmer villager where I broke the composter and placed down a cartography table so I could change their profession to a cartographer or something like that. I was looking for a specific trade right now, but I also did notice that this villager now traded paper for emeralds. So now knowing this, I decided to go back over to my actual base area and start making a decent sized sugarcane farm. Continuing this farm into the next day, I then planted all the sugarcane and then spent some time expanding it out even further. I wanted a pretty big sugarcane farm so we could trade loads of paper for loads of emeralds. Also, sticking to this farm theme, I decided to make some more wheat, potato, and carrot farms, tilling the dirt and planting all the seeds, and then finally decorating the new farms using some cobblestone walls. Wow, we're getting really fancy out here now. Since my sugarcane also wasn't growing fast enough, I decided to spend this next day running all over my world, collecting all the naturally spawning sugarcane that would spawn near rivers and large areas of water, just so I could bring it back home, plant it in my sugarcane farm, expanding it out even further. But now, all I had to do was wait, but during my waiting time, I wasn't going to do nothing. You see, I was going to go out and explore looking for a pillager outpost. Sure, I could have just waited for pillagers to come to me. However, we don't have time for that. That would just simply take way too long, especially since I now needed to defeat one of the banner pillagers for the new ominous bottle thingo. I needed this before I could enter into the trial chambers. Whilst running around, I also remembered that I previously saw a pillager outpost when looking for the new dog types earlier, so I decided to run in that direction. Eventually, I found it off in the distance, so I ran closer, eventually making my way to the pillager outpost. And surprisingly, I couldn't find the banner dude anywhere. Actually, you know what? I couldn't even see any pillagers. So I decided to just go inside and loot the chest where I got a goat's horn. I don't think I've actually ever used one of these goat horns as well, despite them being added like multiple updates ago. But eventually, some pillagers decided to spawn, so I defeated them all. Still no banner dude though. I let the trapped iron golem in a laze free, and then decided to start searching for another outpost since no banner pillagers would be spawning in this current one. I used boats to cross water. I finally came across a second pillager outpost. Like the first one, I looted the chest. I got some armor trims and killed a pillager. But it seemed as though this outpost also had the same issue as the previous one. No more pillagers were spawning, not even a banner one. I had no idea what was going on. I thought that maybe the giant stream of water coming down from the mountain may have possibly been preventing them from spawning. So I went up the mountain and removed that. But still, nothing else was spawning. I decided to go AFK in the mountain wall just for a little bit to see if any of them would maybe change up and actually start spawning, but still nothing. I thought I was just out of luck and wouldn't get an ominous potion. I let the Allays out of their cage and I was just about to leave to go back home until I turned around one more time and there it was, a banner pillager. They had finally decided to spawn. So I defeated it and got the ominous potion. And now I had the potion, I could return back home, passing by the original pillager outpost on my way back home as well. And conveniently, just standing there was another banner dude. And I was able to get a second ominous potion thing. If only they had spawned earlier, I wouldn't have had to run so far to go to another outpost. Despite that, I finally got back home, planted more sugarcane that I had been collecting, and made another farm. Now bringing along some creativity to this world, or well, trying to be creative at least, I wanted to make a doghouse for all my dogs. So I decided to go around collecting loads of wood, chopping down many trees, and then I started building up a tiny house for every single one of the dogs. Nothing too crazy, I just thought it would be pretty funny giving them all their own houses. Boom, this is what they all look like now. Something unfortunate was about to happen though. I started this day by trading with the cartography villager, leveling it up to the village level I would need it at in order to get an item I was looking for. I was currently looking to get my hands on the new Trial Chambers map trade, and unfortunately, this villager was not willing to trade it with me. Well, besides that, I went ahead and started making the storage room entrance way cooler, making some hill sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know. And then I also moved on to spending some time decorating the interior of the storage room as well. And since we couldn't really waste any more time, I simply just went ahead and used the seed map once again. I wasn't messing around. Using the seed map, I located the nearest trial chamber near me and dug straight down to it. But to my surprise, I also found a skeleton spawner right next to the chamber as well. That was pretty interesting. However, besides that, I entered into the chamber and obviously had to drink the ominous potion as well. Now, it was time to get some awesome loot. Inside, we found a breeze, which is yet another one of the new 1.21 mobs that we could tick off our list. I couldn't simply just skip over these though, because I actually had an advancement to complete. I now had to defeat the breeze by deflecting its wind charges straight back at it. And trust me when I say this, it took so much longer to get this advancement than I originally thought it would take. But finally, I did it, and these trial chambers were pretty repetitive. I just went around defeating mobs, moving on to new spawners, and getting loot from them. I also completed another advancement by using an axe on a copper bulb block. I continued going through the trial chambers, got some pretty useless items for defeating the spawner things, but actually, eventually, I got one of the ominous trial keys. Finally! I used this key on the first ominous vault of this world, and in return, I received a new banner pattern, some wind charges, arrows, and loads of emeralds. Not exactly what I was here for, but I'll take it anyways. I used another one of the ominous keys on another vault and got emeralds. Yep, literally just emeralds. Nothing else. Which is kind of crazy, to be honest. Besides that, I went around defeating way more mobs and got 0 keys from an entire room after defeating all the spawner things. What a scam. So all I could do now was move on to another room. In this one, I got extremely low on health. So I quickly blocked myself off from all the mobs in order to heal myself up. So much stuff was happening all at once in this room. But the worst part about it was the fact that none of these vaults were giving me the keys to use. It was actually unbelievable. But with my persistence, I finally got another key, followed by another, and even a third. Whilst I was running around in the chambers looking for another ominous vault to open with my newly obtained keys, I broke a few pots and actually obtained one of the new music discs that was added in this update, which was really cool. Besides that, I went around and used another ominous key at another vault and got a second music disc. This was another unique music disc, and it was also followed by some more emeralds and wind charges. Whilst running around, I opened up another chest, and inside was a normal trial key. So I used that, but got some random loot, nothing too crazy. I continued my journey around the trial chambers, used another normal key, again got some pretty useless loot from it. I used another ominous key as well, whilst getting absolutely destroyed in the process. Like, damn, please just let me use my key in peace. And unfortunately, on this day, I also popped my one and only totem that I had left. Definitely not the way I imagined this day going. The following day, I found myself using another ominous key. This time in a new trial chamber. Since I had completely looted the other one, I decided to come to a new one. Again, I got some random loot that I really just did not need. I used another ominous key, but this time I actually got something pretty cool. I got an enchanted golden apple. It was also around this time that I realized I needed to drink another bad omen effect because I lost my previous effect when I popped the totem the other day. But yeah, I just went around these chambers further, used another normal key, and used another ominous key as well, just to get even more trash loot. Again, I continued going through the rooms of the trial chamber until eventually I actually decided to return back home since all my armor was starting to break. And I was at the point in this world that I was not willing to die because of some stupid mistake. I cleared out my inventory, crafted up new diamond armor, enchanted it all, and then dug straight back down into the trial chambers. Honestly, I think I've showed enough of these trial chambers in the last few days, so let me just start skipping over the majority of everything that happened. Surprisingly, I actually came across a skeleton spawner. It was pretty random finding this, but cool either way. Besides that, on day 44, I finally got the heavy core from the ominous vault. Let's go! This is when I finally made the decision to leave the trial chambers to go home, and then I decided to craft up the mace. Finally, 44 days into this world, we now have our hands on the brand new weapon added in this update. And obviously, we had to test the weapon out. Boom! It's honestly such a cool new item, but also at the same time, it is pretty random compared to the other weapons in this game. I also tried enchanting it in my enchant table, but none of the enchantments were worth taking. So I crafted up a grindstone and then used the enchant table, because now if I got an enchant that I didn't want, I would be able to remove it. Despite that, I ended up settling with a density 5 and unbreaking 3 enchant, even though I already had density 5 in my chest. This next part was written by ChatGPT, so if it sounds weird, that's why. Day 45 to 46 found me surrounded by the towering giant spruce trees, their thick canopies shading the forest floor below. Armed with my trusty axe, I set to work, cutting down tree after tree, filling my inventory with multiple stacks of rich, dark spruce logs. The rhythmic thud of my axe against the wood echoed through the serene woods as I gathered enough resources to fuel the next phase of my project. Anyways, now that I actually had some blocks and stuff to build with, I used a stone cutter to turn all the tough blocks I collected a while ago into blocks that I would need to complete this house build. Mainly stairs for now though. I started working on the entrance of the house, using the stone cutter again for other tough blocks, and eventually I finished the roof shape, adding a door to the entrance, and then I started clearing out trees in the surrounding area to make room for the actual house build. I started working on the walls of the house, stripping all the logs as well, since I thought that would look better for this build. And then I used the tough stairs on the walls as well to change the blocks up a little bit. Anyways, let me quickly summarize this. The walls were now going to be built out of spruce and oak logs combined with tough block stairs. I also repeated the wall design on the other side of the house as well. Day 48, I started stripping more logs, building out more pillars for the walls as well, and spent quite a while chopping down more trees, both for wood and to also clear up extra space for my house build. And because I hate chopping down those giant trees, I ended up just using flint and steel to burn those ones down. It saved me so much time. But there is one thing about this house build that is very clear, and that is that it took an extremely long time to complete. By day 62, it was eventually complete, meaning this build took like, I don't know, someone do the maths. However, I can't just skip over the entire build, though I will summarize it quite a bit, otherwise it'll get a bit boring. At some point, I did also enter back into the trial chambers to go ahead and start collecting some of the copper bulb blocks, you know, the new lighting block, since at the time, I didn't actually have the materials to craft the block itself. For some reason, it required a blaze rod to craft, kind of strange, but oh well. I wanted to use these bulb blocks in the roof. I thought it could be an interesting way to incorporate the new blocks into my build. I also spent quite a while working on the roof. I wanted to make sure it looked as good as possible, for my standards at least. I don't know, I'm not great at building. I'm still working on my building skills, but I'm sure this is going to be good enough for now. I also spent some time going out collecting sand to smelt into glass, to get glass panes for windows on my house. But now it was starting to come together quite nicely. I started adding more random blocks like trapdoors and buttons to add more details to my house build, and whilst looking back on the house, something seemed off. I wasn't quite happy enough with this build, and I think it was mainly the roof that was turning me off from liking the way it looked. I ended up going back down and making my own mine staircase down to deep slate levels so I could start collecting cobbled deep slate, which I would then turn into stairs to use as an outline on my roof, kind of switching it up from the large amount of tough blocks on the roof. I also realized that the roof was like completely off-centered as well on the side, so I had to remove all the progress that I just did on the sides of the roof and spend way more time rebuilding it back up. I can't believe I'd make such a silly mistake like that. It was so ridiculous. But besides that, I filled in the floor and the ceiling and the roof, and finally the house was complete after an extremely long time of building. But I mean, hey, at least we can do some other things now. Well, that was after I did a few random tasks around the base area, starting with this pathway, then moving on to the new entrance to my mine that I created a few days ago, farming all the sugarcane that had grown as well. This day was kind of just spent making everything look even better than what it was already starting to look. I also built up a nether portal on this day, even though I did have that nether portal at the lava pool a little further away from my base though. I just wanted to build this one since I could now get a different nether spawn location. I started day 64 by crafting up another diamond pickaxe. I then enchanted it and then combined it with my other diamond pickaxe, whilst at the same time giving it a very unique name. Now it was time to enter into the nether, where I instantly started getting attacked by a ghast. But now my objective was to find the nether fortress to get blaze rods, and there was only really one way to find it, and that was by running around and exploring the land of the nether dimension. I had to defend myself against some hoglins that would spawn in the crimson biomes, but I promptly dealt with those as well, since it's just simply too easy. I bridged across a pool of lava, more running, and even more bridging. Yeah, this was a pretty repetitive process, I'm not even gonna lie. Again, I found myself running for such a long time because I just could not find the nether fortress. Something I did find though was a bastion, which would allow me to get something very important. I very carefully looted all the chests, getting some alright loot from them, and then I went into the bastion further, looking for more loot to take. Whilst in this bastion, I also got the hot tourist destination advancement. But putting that aside, I accidentally fell off one of the floors, so I had to quickly build up to safety. I looted another chest, which gave me a netherite upgrade template and a silk touch pickaxe, which is actually all I needed. So I left the bastion and continued looking for the nether fortress. And whilst I was exploring, I also found myself in a warped forest biome. So I decided to start my 2-day ender pearl collection process right now. Yep, that's how long it actually took me to get all the ender pearls that I probably need to get to the end later on in these 100 days. In the beginning, I defeated around 7 or 8 endermen before I actually got my first ender pearl. So yeah, maybe you could see how it took me so damn long to get them all. I was extremely unlucky with these ender pearl drops. Now equipped with 10 extra ender pearls combined with the 6 or 7 I already had back at home, I left the warped forest biome, and instead of finding a nether fortress, I actually came across a second bastion, where I got pig step from one of the chests, which is actually really cool. Definitely one of my favorite discs, not gonna lie. Besides that, I just ended up leaving this bastion instead of actually looting everything else, because I just did not want to deal with all the pigmen. Simple as that. And not too long later, I actually found the nether fortress. Now, I can actually get all the items that I came to the nether for. I took some soul sand and nether wart from the fortress, but besides that, I just continued looking around for a blaze spawner. I found a random naturally spawning blaze just chilling, but I decided to ruin their day. Poor blaze. Man, I'm really mean. And in return, I got my first blaze rod. Not too long later, I also found a blaze spawner and started collecting all the blaze rods for everything. Right, how many times did I just say blaze? I collected all these rods for everything I would need them for later on in these 100 days. That includes both Eyes of Ender and even a little bit of potion brewing that I would end up doing later. Yep, you heard that right. Anyways, now that I had all the blaze rods that I would need, I started making my way back home, eventually finding the nether portal so I could head back over to the overworld. So on day 70, I could actually start using the materials that I had just collected. I began by brewing up every single new potion that was added in the new 1.20 Minecraft update. They all required some pretty random materials to brew, but oh well. This update has brought 4 new brewable potions. Infestation, which requires a stone block, oozing, which requires a slime block, weaving, which needs a cobweb, and finally, the wind charging potion, which requires a breeze rod. And now the potions were brewed up, I could test them out, starting with the oozing effect, which I couldn't quite figure out how to actually use it. But as it turns out, all 4 of these potion effects only work upon a player dying, so they're essentially completely useless in hardcore worlds. I drank the other potions, but again, they were all really useless in my world right now. Despite that, I guess it's cool because I could tick off all 4 of these potions off the list though, getting closer to completing my goal of collecting everything added in this update. All I really had to do now was actually prepare for the Ender Dragon fight. I crafted up a new bow and enchanted it, and I actually got pretty good enchants on this bow as well, so I will definitely be taking it. I then crafted up the Eyes of Ender and threw my first Eye of Ender, marking the beginning of my next exploration, which was going towards the stronghold and finding it. I threw multiple eyes, and eventually the pearl throw went into the ground, so I knew I was finally above the stronghold, and now I could just dig straight down. Eventually, I found the end portal, and to my surprise, it was completely filled in. This must be super rare. No, I'm just kidding. I found it earlier and put the eyes in myself. Besides that, I jumped through the portal and started shooting at all the towers, destroying every single crystal. Eventually, though, I thought all the crystals had been destroyed, so I started shooting at the dragon with my bow, but instead, the dragon started healing its health back. Yeah, I forgot to destroy one of the crystals. My bad. So yeah, I kind of wasted some time there. Oh well, eventually, I got the ender dragon extremely low on health, and of course, you already know, I had to tower up and use my mace to finally defeat the ender dragon. I collected all the XP as well as the dragon egg, and now I had to go and pillar up to the end gateway in order to start running around in the outer end islands looking for an end city to loot for an elytra. When I got close to an end city, I attempted to kill the shulker at the entrance. However, annoyingly, it teleported away, but I wasn't letting it go. Anyways, I then went inside and tried looting the end city. However, I got ambushed by many of the shulker bullet thingos. Yeah, those cube things. I don't know what they're called. I looted the chest, but skipped over most of the end city so I could pearl onto the end ship, kill the shulker, and loot the chests. I also crafted up a shulker box so I could put everything inside it, and now I could take an elytra for myself. The first elytra of this world. I also took the brewing stand, and whilst I was taking the ender dragon head, I noticed another end city off in the distance. So I flew over to it and then went inside. Now, I obviously could have looted this end city as well. However, I didn't. I just went straight to the end ship because I could not be bothered dealing with those annoying shulkers once again. Speaking of shulkers, I killed the one guarding the elytra, looted the chests, and then obtained a second elytra in this world. Now I could finally go back home. And going through the end portal, I now realized I had to run thousands of blocks to get back home. Yep, I completely forgot that I messed up my spawn location, so now I was back at the world's spawn, running all the way back home, and it was not close whatsoever, so this was going to take a very, very long time to get back. If only I brought fireworks with me to the end. That would have been useful. Eventually, I finally got back home, so I started digging out a new secret room in my storage area. This room was going to be dedicated to brewing potions. I also placed a painting to cover the entrance of this new room, you know, just to sell the whole idea of it being a secret room. But speaking of paintings, on this day, I was also going to be doing something with paintings. But first, I actually wanted to listen to the new music disc. And this music disc, well, let me tell you, it was awesome. Created by Lena Rain, or however it's pronounced, is such a great new addition to Minecraft. But now back on the whole painting topic, I actually wanted to get every single painting that is now in Minecraft, especially since this update has brought a whole lot more paintings, and some of them look pretty cool. So obviously, I had to craft up loads of paintings, and then I built out a massive wall. And now that I had this wall, I could start the long and tedious task of getting every single painting that was now in Minecraft. This wall was definitely starting to look pretty cool, and by the end of this process, I had managed to get all 46 of the paintings. I'll definitely have to fill in the gaps with duplicates at some point in the future, but I won't be doing that now because I wanted to add a few more enchantments onto my elytra, so I could start my journey once again, collecting even more of those new dog types. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you all, I could not be bothered editing all this down. So instead, let me just show you all the dogs that I managed to get. First, I got the new ashen dog from the snowy taiga biome, and then I got the spotted dog from the savanna plateau, and I also tried to get the snowy dog from a grove biome. However, that attempt was unsuccessful, unfortunately. But after all that, we're only missing 2 of the new dog types now. So we might have to do that in 200 days, but only if you guys want that though. After that, I made my way back home. Now that I was back at home, I started chopping down loads of trees for wood and flattening out a bit of land near my base so I could start building up some fences to move loads of animals for a massive animal farm. I wanted the best animal farm in the world. Okay, maybe not quite. But next, I wanted to build up some more dog houses for the new dogs that I got from the previous days going out and exploring. After that, I went running back to the savannah biome because now I wanted to find some more armadillos. I then trapped some in a hole where I then went AFK in order to collect some more scutes, which I did kind of go AFK way longer than I thought I would. Yeah. But despite that, I then returned back home and gave each dog their own different carpet using different colored carpets for each dog. And now, using the scutes, I crafted up some dog armor and then went out exploring for some dogs. This time, I actually wanted to use the armor on these dogs, so it didn't have to be a unique type. I ended up taming 2 default pale dogs and then gave them both some blue armor. I then used some wind charges to jump 8 blocks high, which gave me another advancement. And finally, I spent day 100 doing a couple more 1.21 features. I used the new crafter, and then using the crafter, I got a brand new advancement by crafting a crafter using a crafter. How many times did I say craft? But yeah, I then spent the rest of the day doing a bit of farming, and that was it. That was 100 days in 1.21 Minecraft Hardcore. If you want to see 200 days, let me know in the comments down below. And by the way, I now stream on Twitch, so link in the description, go follow me on there. Anyways, thanks for watching. Watch this video next.